Hello, hi everybody. Gosh, why is my phone making that strange sound? Oh, it's telling me that that was interesting. I think my phone's telling me that I've just joined the call. What I'll probably do to start with is just go around and see everybody's here. How do I change? I don't use this that much. Okay, so apart from to teach yoga classes, of course. So Sarah, hi Sarah, I can see you're here. Hi, how are you? Put a little see your name. Hey Sarah. Karina, yep. Hey Karina, nice to see you in glasses. I like it. It's nice seeing you this way. Jenny, I can see you're here. Awesome. Hello. Caroline, Caroline's in the room. Hey Caroline, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Zared, am I not using this properly? Is he not quite checked in yet? Anyone see Zared in the room? Because I can see. No. Nope, no one can see Zared. Okay, so maybe he's still to come. Sue, has Sue turned up yet? No? Okay, let's go full screen. I think I'm seeing everybody actually. Charlotte, has Charlotte come? No, Charlotte's not here. Kat. Kat, hi, how are you? Hey, Zared, how are you?
Good, Chris, how are you doing?
Oh, well, thanks. Nice to see you. I've just been kind of saying hello to everybody. I think we've still got...
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Zared.
Yeah. I've never used this platform for anything except for yoga classes, so I've never done the whole interactive thing. So play this anyway. Don't look to me to take the lead role, although I suppose by default I'm facilitating. That's all I'm trying to do. I think we've still got Charlotte and Sue left to come. If they arrive, is that Sue?
Hi.
Hi Sue, how are you?
Yeah, really. Yourself?
Very well, thank you. I was just going around the room saying hello to everybody. Now, rather than saying to everybody, say hi, my name's so-and-so, I think can you all see each other's names on the screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I can't.
No.
So you are. So I won't do the whole American, hi, I'm so-and-so, and we'll go in the room. The reason I'm not going to do that is because, hey, Charlotte, how are you? Good to see you. The reason I'm not going to do that is because I don't want to use more time than is necessary. I appreciate that some of you will need to leave the room slightly earlier. I'm very grateful for the time that you have given me. It means a huge amount to me, so thank you for that. My primary aim for this is something I can't do alone, is to see the studio through your eyes. I go there every day, even now, and I see it with too much familiarity. And like I said in the emails, what I really want to capture if I can, and we've only got sort of, I think it's maximum split between sort of 8 minutes each or something like that if we divide it up and take a whole hour. But what I'd like to capture is, one, what are the things that you really like about the studio? And the reason I ask that is because I've had business coaches say to me, Chris, why do your students come and practice with you? I honestly, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. So one, what do you like about the studio? And two, what is it that we could do to do it slightly better? Now, a little example of that, you might say, and the lens is going back after lockdown. So you might say to me, do you know what, Chris, I don't want to say anything, but you've got hand towels in the bathroom. I was always fine, didn't mind, could live with it just about. But after COVID, I'm not sure if I'd be that comfortable using them. I've thought of that and I've got rid of those, and I put paper towel dispensers in little baskets to chuck the old ones in, so they'll always be fresh. But it's things like that. You might be able to say to me, I need that to change. I've also got some change plans for when we go back, so I'll share those with you towards the end. There's two ways of doing. Either we can kind of go around and around robin and we'll do one by one, or we can sort of jump and let it be more organic. My inclination is to let it jump and be a bit more organic, and if that works, fantastic. If it doesn't, then I might start just moving around. And I will keep my eye on the clock because I am really conscious that this is your time and I want to use it really wisely. So with that in mind, with all of that in mind, I would open the first question, which is, what are the things you like about practicing at AbaYoga? Oh, and by the way, sorry, this is all being recorded, so I'm not going to write down notes, but it's being recorded, and I think legally I need to tell you that before you start speaking. So it's being recorded by Zoom on their iCloud thing. So, Karina, I think you put your hand up.
Sorry, my washing machine's about to go ballistic, so if you can hear that, I'm really sorry. I was just thinking about this earlier, so like doing the Zoom classes online and stuff, and it's great and I love it. But I think the big thing about the studio is once you're in there, no one can get you. It's like you've got an hour of no phones, no emails, no kids, no tellies playing, no people walking around. It literally is your hour cut off from the world. So you walk in, the front door gets shut, no one can touch you. And I think that is a big deal when you're constantly, I'm sitting here with gadgets and like everyone's got like 25 ways to get me. It's literally just a little escape route for me. And it always smells so nice when you walk in. It's like, oh God, thank God. So that's a big thing. So even doing it at home, I can still hear the telly. I'm still conscious they want their dinner. Things are still going on here. It's not as easy just to separate off.
Is the key word separate then? Is the key word separate?
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah, that's a good word, I think.
Hey, Sarah.
Sarah. Hi. Yeah, no, I think that's a good word. You can actually put that all away. You can just concentrate on yourself. You've got no distractions. You just, the room is lovely and silent. I know that you sort of spoke to some people that went in there and sort of had chats, and that was off-putting. So like you said, it's a space to be silent, calm, focus on yourself and go through the movement. So it is a very calming environment.
Jenny, thank you, Sarah.
I agree with what's been said so far. For me, it's an immersive experience. Okay, it's not like going to a church hall and getting you rolling out your mat and looking a bit of dust and the smell. It's a complete immersive experience. And when I come out of there, I do feel like I've been somewhere. And it's, I think for all the reasons, like the ambience, the music, your professionalism and passion, the space you have, like you're not crammed in, you're not worried because the places have already been put out. So you know exactly that you're going to get some space. It's that reassurance.
Yeah.
The lighting, it's for me, it's this immersion into somewhere else.
Thank you. I'm going to say as little as possible. I know what's in my head. I want to know what's in your head. Charlotte, I think you put your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to second that because I found it quite difficult to take the time out of my workday to attend the online classes. My work's actually picked up quite a lot since being in lockdown, which is odd, but I've not managed to really find the time to dedicate to practicing. So, and also I find going to the studio a very immersive experience, and I like the sort of holistic feeling of the whole place. That's what I really, really loved about going there. So I really miss that, and I just can't seem to recreate that at home. I can just constantly see like the kitchen there and there's dishes on the side, or you know, there's just something happening in the background that I'm distracted by, which I don't get when obviously I'm at the studio. So it's nice to have an option of online. I love that there is the option, but yeah, I definitely miss the feeling of when you go into the studio, you know, you hang your coats, everything's outside, you go into the studio, it's silent, it's very calm. It's the kind of little retreat that I need to go to as many times as I can in a week. So I do love the general ambience and the vibe of the studio.
Anybody else? Any ideas? Like I said, I need to shut this as much as possible. I want to see it through your eyes. What's coming up? I mean, there's some shared things there and maybe other things. So please don't be afraid to say what you're thinking. I think, Caroline, you may put your hand up.
You know, I agree with all that's been said. I think it's a lovely yoga home. That's how I call it. You know, it's somewhere I can go and I can just completely shut off from the world. It's totally clean. It's, yeah, I think it's beautifully, Chris, in your past. I totally agree with our friends that, you know, when you practice at home, you can try and create as much as you can, but it's not the same. You get distracted. And so it's really hard not to just, oh, I just go and do that, or, you know, whatever. And so I haven't got anything negative to say about AbaYoga at all. And I just think it's a fantastic place. I can't wait for it to get up and running again. Yeah, I mean, I suppose, how could I make it more perfect? I love the sound of rainwater. you know, so sometimes the music will come in if it was the sound of that, or, you know, or yeah, just or birds, or you know, whatever. I mean, the music's always bad, so it's not really criticism. It's just it might be something nice for people to walk into. I don't know. Yeah. So sorry, I don't want to speak too long, but yeah, I've got nothing negative to say really. Yeah. I mean, actually, I love a class at 3 o'clock.
You love the class, a class at 3 o'clock during the day.
That would be so bad for me.
One of my questions, I mean, I was going to, you know, open things up. A timetable is one of them, and 3 o'clock is usually one of those times that I haven't done anything. So thank you. That's important. And by the way, there isn't any negative. Please don't think that there's. I'm pretty certain that everybody in the room is not going to be negative, but I do need to know if you have any key. We used to call them key frustrations. What a corporate term, but. If there's anything, niggles that sort of bug you, like, and a hand towel thing is something that comes to mind. But I'm looking to iron out that stuff.
I mean, I very much enjoy coming to the studio, and I think people talk about the separation, the escape, and definitely that's a good thing, getting away from the kids and sort of being focused and in the zone. I guess the only thing, sorry, I forget your name, echoing what Carolyn was saying, is sort of just timetable flexibility. So I recognise there's limited resources you have and you need people to fill the classes, but from a user perspective, the more optionality we have in terms of classes is desirable.
Sarah, give me an idea, what sort of times are not being serviced that could be, if in your world, no mind anybody else, just what would suit you more?
I can't remember the exact timetable. I think for me, this just be very personal and very selfish. I think, for example, I play football on a Thursday night, so Thursday nights are no good, but it'd be quite good to have the class, I don't know, on the Saturday. I think there wasn't that many classes on Saturdays, if I remember. I could be mistaken.
Well, actually, and I'm really pleased you've opened it on that one. Saturday used to be just the runners class at 10:30. That was traditional from the church halls. And when I opened the studio, there's a beginners class at 9. There's a runners class at 10:30. There's an aerial class, a taster class at 12:15, and a full aerial class at 1 o'clock. And then there was a hot class in the afternoon at 4 o'clock, and then a yin class at the end of Saturday at about 5:30. That's the timetable we left behind. It's almost like Saturday's a prime day, trying to get as many different options in there, and maybe it's not really working. Maybe I'm just not getting the right things. Maybe I just need to have like 5 vinyasa classes in a row or something on a Saturday rather than doing all these different things. But then again, you know, the aerial is important, and that was the only one on a Saturday. But I get what you're saying. The reason,
I mean, I don't focus so much on a Saturday thing. Like, I don't have a particular date in mind, but the idea of the more choices is desirable. Just because I find I have other things planned, like, oh, I'd like to do that class, but I've got this going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can take this offline, or maybe just send me an email. Just tell me what you need. Just say, Chris, what would be great if you did, I don't know, 3 o'clock class in the afternoons. Yeah, who said that?
Me.
Hey, Karim.
Sorry, me again. I was just thinking, so I work in town, and the 8 o'clock classes always were wicked for me, because by the time I get home, it's late and train drama and all the rest of it. My work I don't know how this is going to work for everybody, but my work have now said I'm not going back to the office. That's it. So I am now a home worker. And I was a bit like, oh, anyway, so I'm just thinking, if there's a few people that's going to have their hours changed, surely that would mean classes are going to change. So for me, I don't think I would want to wait till 8 o'clock at night. Do you know what I mean? I know it's like saying, here you go, Chris, change your whole thing. But it's like, I just wonder how, when it does open, everyone's schedule could be different to what it is now.
Yeah.
Really good point.
Who said that?
Sorry, I was just saying it's a really good point.
Jenny, yes.
I was going to add something, but I know Kat hasn't spoken yet, so I didn't want to cut over Kat.
Kat, were you about to say, thank you, Jenny. Sorry, when I look at I must look like I'm looking, but I'm looking at your faces on the screen. I try and stare at the camera, so it looks like I'm looking at you, but then I can't see your face. So I drop my eyes here, but I'm looking somewhere else, right? Kat, were you about to say something?
No, I've so essentially got a lot of the same points as everyone else, and that is you know, the separation thing, it's amazing. You know, it does feel like the studio is completely untouched by the outside world, with the exception of, you know, those of us who make the choice to step over the threshold and be a part of that, which is really nice. And having worked in leisure myself, I know we used to get a lot of complaints from our yogis because there'd be yoga and then there'd be like hit on next door and you just have like in the background, right? So that's really nice. And again, echoing the point of online classes being good, they're great, but you know, like I heard someone say once, you know, Shavasana is the hardest pose, right? And I was like, bullshit. But actually doing it at home, it is, because at the studio, you have that separation and I can just lay there, it's fine, nothing needs doing. But at home, I'm like, okay, I'm done now. And I've got dishes to wash and I've got laundry to hang out, you know? So it's nice being at the studio, and that, like, that doesn't matter, that can wait a bit. So that's really nice. I do have a couple of points regarding they're almost sort of from a marketing point of view and marketability for you in sort of growing the studio for other people, but at the moment they're not massively relevant. So you guys shoot.
No, what are they? What's in your mind?
Yeah.
It was a great build-up. I'd love to know what you're thinking of.
So something that might be quite nice. So for people who pay the £75 a month subscription, you could offer per year 4 guest passes. So with your subscription, you get a free guest 4 times a year or something like that. So you can bring 1 guest to 1 class 4 times or something. And that'd be quite nice, because I could say my best friend wants to get into yoga, but I don't know, she's umming and ahhing. It's like, well, you know what? I got these guest passes. Why don't you just come along with me this Saturday? It's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to cost me anything. She comes as my guest. She likes it. She's a customer. But then on the flip side, I might have an aunt who lives in Devon who loves yoga and comes to stay with me. I might want to bring her on a one-off as a sort of gift, but, you know, and it's another nice little way to encourage her to potentially become a customer when she visits in future. So I think guest passes might be quite nice. And let's say I've used my 4 for the year. So I've used my 4 guest passes. You could give me the option to buy another guest pass for a little bit less than a class rate. So £12. Something like that. And that's going to bring in customers that are not hearing through you from anything other than word of mouth. So that's me saying, I love this place. It's great. I trust these teachers. Come with me, right? And we're saving a little bit of money as well. So I think that would be a good marketing point for you. I also think that keeping a slight online presence might be good in future. So maybe even just, see, I don't think they have to be live either. You could offer the option to have, so let's say a month you release 4 new pre-recorded vinyasa flows. So each month you record 4 or something, or 2, so it's 1 a fortnight, so that people who want to practice at home but perhaps haven't found their inner flow yet have some guidance from you. And then they can tap into that whenever they like. I think that would be quite nice as well. And that could be free for members, or it could be a low price subscription. So like £10 a month, you get 4 online classes that you can access at any time. Something like that for people who maybe can't commit to coming to the studio all the time. And another one would be after the class, you could have an AbaYoga Spotify and say, my playlist that I used for today's flow was this, and you can log on and you can use this flow at home. Because some of your music is absolutely fabulous. The ambience is wonderful. So those are a few of my things.
Sarah is in the background, actually. She's in a room. She wanted to listen, and sorry, I should have said that too. And when you said about the gift passes, she just looked up and smiled and said, "That's brilliant." And I'm looking at the what you say about the recordings. And do you know about AbaYoga Online?
No, I haven't really. I'm not really a computer person. I'm literally like somebody's nonna. I just have no idea. I can barely use my phone.
Okay. I'll tell you about that, and I think everybody else in the room probably knows about that. So I'll tell you about that another time. The Spotify thing, I mean, that's ready to go. So I just have to share my thingamajig, and that's good. I just want to. I'm looking at the time. It's 5:20. I know Sue probably has to leave around about past because she's got something else she needs to go to. And she hasn't said anything yet, so I'm just going to ask Sue, what are your thoughts? What can you share? As someone who's been practicing with me for a very long time now.
Yeah, well, and that's because I think, you know, the way you set it up is brilliant. I really enjoy going. I don't have anything negative to say. I think everyone's covered all the points. I think also your studio is really well equipped. So the fact that you can just turn up and no one needs to have or own anything, or just come in from something else, I think is brilliant. So, I mean, I think you just need to keep doing what you're doing. But I also agree with what the gentleman said about having more flexibility in some more classes, if that's feasible. Obviously, this needs to, you know, your practice, your studio needs to build, and you need to have enough customers to offer more options. But I think, you know, that would be a way forward. And then I was just thinking about the lockdown issue, and I know you've got a door at the back, and whether it's an option to sometimes have that door open. I don't know if there's any sort of sound pollution from outside, but just a thought of fresh air. I heard people saying just prior to the lockdown that, you know, being in a closed space with no, you know, with no ventilation, like no natural air, was an issue. And obviously I don't know how we're going to emerge out the lockdown and when that's going to happen, but I mean, it's just a small point. But in terms of how the studio is, I think it's got everything. I think, yeah, slowly, I mean, I'm expecting that will happen over time anyway, that you'll be introducing more classes at different times. I think it's a really important point that someone made, that everyone's lifestyles are going to change, so the timetable might need a complete overhaul. But apart from that, I don't think I've really got anything to add from what's been said so far.
Can I just, I just want to, because something I hadn't thought of, the ventilation point and opening the back door, really, just that's a light bulb moment, because it's so simple, and I hadn't thought of it. Last year, when it got warm, we'd open the back door sometimes and let the air go through. The room also has a system of ventilation. I don't think anyone's noticed, there's 5 big extractor fans.
Yeah.
And at the end of the class, I'll switch them on. They're noisy, so I don't usually have them on during the class. I'm not sure if you feel that that's the kind of ventilation that's sufficient. Opening the back doors, yes, there's noise pollution, and it's also a really dirty alley out the back. Yeah. And there's loads of stuff, and it gets blown in, and leaves come in, and it's, you know, that's why it's closed. But I think with a concern about COVID, to have more ventilation would be a brilliant thing to do. Actually, before the time rolls, because that might 8:30 is 8 minutes, there are some things I'm going to introduce, and there's one thing I'd like to show you and get your reaction to it. And then we'll come back to the conversation if we could. Maybe still need to go. So some of the changes that I will make, and I put this one at the top, I'm going to use a temperature gun. Yeah. And this is it. So I bought it, and literally, you anywhere on the body, it's 3 centimeters away, and it does that. And if you're well, it'll tell you the temperature. I'm 37 point something. If you're warm, 38 plus something, it'll go beep 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 beep, which will be my cue to invite someone to go home and rest rather than coming in and sharing whatever they've got in the room. So the question to all of you here is, how do you feel that someone at the front is sort of pointing this at your forehead, here, and doing, because when I've tried it on my wife and my children, they even though it's this far away, they say they can feel an energy. I mean, there's no energy. If I shine that, there's nothing going on with it. Oh, you've got a low temperature. But how do you feel about that? Sue, I think you put your hand up.
I just put my hand up first so I can answer it before I have to go. I have no issues. I personally have no issues with it. And I think if we know it's in everyone's interest and you're managing everyone's well-being, I can't really see it being an issue. But the other side of it is, I'm quite sure I had coronavirus, but I didn't have a temperature. So I don't know if temperature testing is necessarily the indicator. Who knows? I don't. So if it's purely for coronavirus, I don't know how helpful, you know, if it's the ultimate, you know, way to determine.
Sorry, Sarah, can
I say? I was going to say, so every day I go on the COVID app. So the 2 questions they ask you is, have you been tested? And how are you feeling today? And you just log on and do that every day, so they can get some sort of idea of what's going on everywhere. There are 2 questions that you could ask every day if you get feedback and they don't like the gun in their face. But they're quite simple. So if you ask everyone every day, you know, every time they go to a class, have you been tested? if it's no and they feel fine, then they can come in. I think people, if they know they're not feeling right, should have the sense not to go. So
Should.
I know, but if you ask them as they get to the door, I guess that's a good thing. The other thing is, because Mark, obviously he's a dentist, as you know, so he's going back to work. They've now put in these air purifiers into every surgery. I don't know how expensive they are, but if you don't want the back door left open, it is something perhaps just to have a look at. And it's called Radic 8. Is the one, Radic 8, RADIC 8. It might be worth just seeing if they come in different sizes or whatever for a room space, if that's good, because they're the leading company that's fighting against the droplet and airborne viruses. So that might give lots of people security if you have a space that's got no ventilation except for a back door. Don't know.
I'll check that out. What I am using is, I haven't got them here because at the studio, but I've now got these, they're airborne sanitizers. I think I did a video before, and you basically press them, they discharge a sanitizer into the air, and it cleans and kills everything. I have to get out, and you leave it for an hour. It's a bit like those bug kill things in Australia that we used to do.
Okay.
So that's what I have got, but I hadn't heard of Radicate, so I will check that out.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Anybody? Sue, I'm just sensitive to the fact that you probably.
That's all right. Got my eye on it.
Yeah. So what's somebody said, and we'll just circle back to it. I can't remember what it was now, but I'm sure I'll see it when I hit the playback later on. I was just going through the things that I am going to change. Yeah. So temperature gun. We will also change how many people can come in, because the space can take 24 mats. I'll have to half that and a little bit less than half, so I can get 2 meters between everybody. I've measured it all out with tape on the floor. I'll be able to get 11 people into the room. So capacity will drop. There'll be less people in the class. That might increase the experience because, less people around. It might be more access to the teacher. It might not increase the experience. I don't know. You might like the fact that you're moving with lots of people in the room. I've also ordered a whole bucket full of hand sanitizers, those little pump things. So there was one before we temporarily closed. So all of those, and the air sanitizers and the paper towels. And we'll be doing daily cleans instead of we used to have a cleaner came in once every week and did a complete clean all the way through. Now I'll be doing complete cleans or every day of the week. And also no cash transactions, but we never really did those before. So those are some of the COVID changes. Also, there's some changes in the lobby area where you used to be able to sit down next to people. The furniture's been moved, so you can no longer sit down next to people. I'll be asking to people to leave in slight staggers, so you won't all congregate at the shoes and the coats on the way out. Little things like that. What do you think about those little things? Do you have a reaction to them? Do you just think that's reassuring? Do you think that's a pain? How do you feel about it, Charlotte?
I think that all sounds really good, and judging by what I've heard from other sort of local businesses, companies, things like beauty salons that are in the same position as you, that are starting to sort of think about their return to work, and they all seem to be adopting similar sort of procedures, which I think it might not be the answer to ensuring that nobody with coronavirus comes inside, but it certainly puts a lot of people's minds at rest. So for example, with the temperature gun, I'm expecting to see that in loads of places after this, so that doesn't concern me at all. I think any kind of procedure that you put in place that just puts people's mind at rest is really reassuring and definitely worth doing. The only other thing I could think of was and we started doing it before lockdown, was wiping down of the mats after each session. And I know that obviously at the moment we're using the sponges and the little scrubber pads. So I don't know whether that's something that we'd need to maybe think about replacing with something disposable, like wet wipe type things, sort of alcohol wet wipey type things, rather than a spray and a sponge, just because I'm thinking of sweat and stuff. Certainly me after a hot yoga. So yeah, that's the only other thing I could think of really that would maybe need to be changed.
I'm guessing the hot yoga couldn't happen anyway, because that would be really...
Well, actually, that was, I've written this down so I don't forget it. That brings me on to two other questions. Number one, I'm questioning what equipment we have available. So bolsters, I don't know, blocks shared, I don't know. I mean, we can talk about wiping them down all you like, but if this virus gets around on things like that, then I don't want to take a chance with those. It also means that we then lose things like the yin classes and the restorative classes, because if we haven't got facilities that people feel comfortable with. Hot yoga, it was my intention to put that on a back burner until we know what's going on. There is a yoga studio in Beckenham called Breeze, and I was talking to one of our teachers that also teaches there, and he was saying that they're going to fire up and get going, and it should be, by Sue, that it should be fine. Personally, I wouldn't be comfortable in a hot yoga studio at the moment. That's just me. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm seeing people shaking their heads.
I don't feel like we're ready for that yet.
Yeah,
I mean, we haven't been out in months. I just think hot yoga's a step too far.
I feel reluctant saying it because it's my favourite, but yeah, probably not.
I really miss it as well, but I'm like, I'm just not there.
Yeah, I'm not. I grew up on hot yoga. I mean, that's where I got into yoga. But if I was in Sydney now and Duncan opened the studios, and I wouldn't want to go. So am I seeing a general consensus that hot yoga is something we need to leave a little longer? I'm looking at faces.
Yes. Yoga, it's absolutely going to be fine because everybody's socially distanced anyway. That's great. Maybe there could be more of those classes. I don't know how many of us like them.
More of what classes? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
About the aerial yoga is a perfect class because everybody's got fresh air around them and they're distanced. I don't know how many of us enjoy the aerial yoga, but it's fantastic for that. Maybe more of classes. That's
not the opposite. Hot yoga, highest risk. Aerial yoga, lowest risk, because you've got the most space around you. I mean, you literally couldn't touch anybody in a regular aerial class. I agree completely. That's, yes. Yes, that had occurred to me, actually.
Maybe more.
I think Jenny also wanted to make a point. I saw you put your hand up. You're about to say something.
I've got several points.
Let me get a pen.
No, not at all. No, it's just picking up on what everybody else has said. So one of the questions I had for you was when people arrive, sometimes because you want to feel like you're doing the right thing, and I suppose it's got to be really clear from the signage and everything what you're expecting people to do. And I know there's a narrow passageway. So what are your thoughts on when people arrive, sort of keeping everybody out and then letting one person in at a time so you keep that distance?
I don't know the answer to that one because and I was talking about this with somebody today. I can't remember what. It's one-way traffic, so you're either all coming in or you're all going out. It'll be reduced capacity, so there's only up to 11 people in a class. So how likely you are to bump into other people I honestly think that kind of thing can almost be self-regulate. I'm not sure if it needs me to be outside saying, Jenny, can you hold on a second? I just want to let Sue to come in here. Just wait.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not sure if
yeah, you're right, because of the reduced numbers.
And you're not going to be, what I could put is tape on that long corridor so that you can come in and everyone can feel that there's a point to just be at, a bit like a queue at a supermarket. You've got those marking, and as weird as they are, we're all used to them now. And I might do that to address that point. I don't know how everybody feels, but that's the thing but I'm not sure I'd have someone at the front door like a Waitrose.
I think you're right, Chris, given the reduced numbers. The other point I was thinking was to Zarid's point about having more flexibility and more programs. I'm sure you already do this, but from a sort of looking at your popularity of classes, there's always an 80-20 rule, isn't there? So I would certainly be looking at the 20% of your classes that are the most popular, and then maybe expanding the number of times that you run those classes. So, because I think individually, we've all got different reasons for coming. Particularly me, I do CrossFit during the week. So it's very high stress and high So I love the stretch and the relax. That's what I come for, but I'm very aware that other people prefer the dynamic yoga. So doing some kind of maybe survey or analysis of where your most popular classes are and what the demand is would be a starting point, because obviously it's difficult to expand the options without kind of knowing that in advance.
The statistics that MindBody collects in my classes shows in terms of timing, there are 2 peak times in the day, 9:30 in the morning during the week and 7:30 in the evening during the week. And Saturdays and Sundays very hit and miss. And our Sunday classes were a bit singular before. So in terms of timings, there's a very keen peaks there. In terms of styles at the moment, the biggest numbers come in through the vinyasa classes, so the stuff that you don't do, Jenny. The vinyasa classes being the much more demanding, much more dynamic classes. How do I, and I have wrestled with this so much, where do I put the classes? How do I, and analysis is one thing, but actually putting in a timetable, there's one around here somewhere in our living room. My timetable, it's loads of pencil marks and everything, just everything moved around. Now that one, it isn't easy. In fact, somebody once told me 3 years ago, said, when you build your timetable, trust me, you'll never get it right. Don't even try, just do it. And it's a minefield. But that said, I will keep trying. I just know that I'll never actually get it perfect.
Brilliant. It was just a thought from the business perspective, a bit like Kat. Yeah, the only other thing I had was, I don't know what the cancellation policy is, but I'm wondering whether there is a need to be slightly more flexible with the cancellation policy. Okay. So for example, if you are experiencing a high temperature and you do have to cancel, does that have to be at some point acknowledged that in those circumstances? Don't know, it was just a thought.
Well, before we closed, I changed the cancellation policy that if you were feeling sick or had a temperature, you could cancel any time without penalty.
Great.
And some people did, they cancelled, and they just wrote to me afterwards, like, I had to cancel last minute, it was because of the COVID thing and I had a bit of a fine, just refund instantly, just back.
Perfect.
How well I communicated that, that's something I need to work on. Your list is... What
was it?
Oh, that's it.
It was just those 3 points.
Okay, I will, in the playback, I will be able to work on all of those. So I'm going to throw some more things out. I think we touched on it, but mats. We touched on equipment, mats. I can't think of anyone in the room who doesn't have their own mat, but do I put mats on the floor that you share and then we have alcohol wipes? I think that was Charlotte's suggestion, to clean the stuff. Or do I say, no studio equipment, I provide the space which I clean, and you bring your own mats in? How do you feel about that?
I think it would be a nice idea to ask everybody to bring their own equipment over this period, a mat or a towel, just to protect themselves from, even though obviously the mats are always wiped over and very clean, I think it would feel more comfortable to bring my own equipment. I'd rather bring my own block if that's what I use. I don't think the bolsters are a good idea at the moment, and bring your own if you want to carry it, but there's no hardship in bringing a mat and laying that over a mat that's already there. So if you've got everything set out, so that makes it very comfortable. We always said about that, we walk in, it's totally secure, you know exactly where you're going to go and sit or, work, and why not put your own mat down?
I don't think it's unreasonable at the moment to ask people to bring their own mats. I think people would understand, they would get it. It's not like you've just opened the studio and you're saying everyone's got to have their own mats. Like, we're in the middle of a situation, so I think people will get it. Like, I think they'll be quite comfortable with having to bring their own stuff, their own mat.
Definitely.
Even if they didn't own it, Karina, I know you've got your own mat and you do bring it and you lay it down on top of but if you didn't have a mat and you like to come into the studio, I said to you, given the circumstances, I'm clearing the studio of mats for 2 reasons. Number one, it means that you only have you only ever own mats. And number two, it's much easier for me to clean the whole space when there's no mats on the floor, because I have to clear all the mats and everything off the floor every time I clean the floor, and it takes ages just move them out and put them back in. So from my point of view, if there were no mats, it would be much easier to clean the place. But how would you feel if you didn't have a mat and all of a sudden you kind of had to go and buy one?
I would be all right with that.
Yeah? Charlotte,
Yeah.
you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I don't actually have my own mat, so I've always used your studio equipment, and partly because I'd never actually done yoga before coming to you, so your studio was my first ever experience with yoga. And what I really liked about it was that as someone that was brand new with no equipment, I just had to turn up, and I was quite shocked at the amount of equipment that you had, you know, the straps, the blocks, everything like that, not just the mats. If you were to turn around and say, you know, we need you to bring your own mat, I would be absolutely happy, you know, more than happy to buy my own, because I'm now a converted yogi and intend to carry on doing yoga. But I think as someone who would be thinking about someone that might be brand new to yoga, it might be a nice idea to sort of keep aside perhaps 5 mats that you know that you've cleaned, that they can then borrow, and it's just going to be 1, maybe 2 brand new people in one session at any one time, just to give them something that they can use until they, you know, purchase their own and are converted. That's my only thought on that.
But you personally, is it something you practice, you haven't got your own mat, suddenly you've got to get one, you'd be fine with that? Personally,
I would, yeah.
Would you, interestingly, would you prefer to go and get one yourself, or would you want to be able to buy one at the studio? Would you sort of half expect me to have available to buy?
I would probably naturally ask you for your recommendation on a yoga mat anyway. I definitely have my favourite mats in the studio are the ones, I think there might be the Lululemon ones, the black ones, because they don't slide and I don't find myself slipping on them quite so much. But yeah, I would naturally just ask for your recommendation anyway, and if you sold them, then I would buy one from you. But yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. I think Kat's got a hand up.
Yeah. Just with regards to the selling at the studio, like I used to work at a leisure centre. I used to be a manager at a leisure centre, and that was one thing that there was always demand for. Not so much mats, but equipment. So people would do a class, or they'd bring their kids swimming, and it'd be, do you have this? Or we've forgotten this, can we buy it from you? And if the answer was yes, perfect, they'd be happy. And if the answer was no, they'd be like, well, why not? You know, so we'd get kids come in and it'd be like, I've forgotten his swimming trunks, what can I do? Can I buy some from you? No, sorry, we don't sell them. Oh my God, now I'm gonna have to go home, I'm missing my swimming lesson. And you just get sort of parents who are already flustered and angry, which isn't really the sort of environment you have at a yoga studio, but people are always happy to be given what they need, I think.
Kat, I don't know if it's my internet, but you've frozen suddenly. Right at the end of the point. Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can. I don't know what's changed. I can hear you. I don't know if that's just me.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi is just a little bit shit. Yeah, no, people are quite happy to be given what they need. But then on the other hand, you could have people thinking, well, I'm a captive audience. You've said I have to bring my own mat. I don't have one. Now you're saying, yeah, but for this small price, you know. So it goes both ways. But more often than not, if you say to somebody, you need this, they'll go, well, can I get it from you? So.
Interesting thing, I actually went to my supplier to buy a whole bunch of mats. Actually, because I wanted new mats for when you guys come back. And he said to me, I don't have mats left. He's like a huge supplier. He's got like a warehouse full of kit. And I get all my stuff from him, and he said, "Got anything?" Why? We just sold out of everything. Everybody wants to buy their own kit suddenly. I think maybe it's because people are doing Zoom classes at home. So he's got a container ship coming over, and when he does, I will get some of the best stuff and put it in the studio and say, "Look, if you want to buy it, there it is." And that's another question. I actually wanted to cover this. I've written it down. I just want to get a little bit of feedback on styles of yoga available at the studio. So there was a time when we had, I think it was 13 different styles, because I was hiring different teachers and I wanted to bring their own styles in. And, you know, add to that, when you do them in the timetables and when people are, it just became an absolute plethora. And I started reducing it. If I were to throw the question out to you, do you understand the styles we do? Are you comfortable with the styles? Do you know what you want to do and what you get when you come to the studio? Karina?
Is there any chance, this is just asking now, it's not really feedback, is it? But an Ashtanga teacher would be good. I realise there's problems with that, but I'm just putting it out there.
I'm not sure if there are any problems with that from my side. What you mean, someone to teach the actual Ashtanga primary series?
Yeah, because I'm having to go, well, I don't have to, but when I'm at work, I do Ashtanga class at the Light Centre, but only because you don't do it at yours, otherwise I would go to you. But I just like, that's what I was doing before I started with you. So I only do it like, I mean, I couldn't do it every day because I'd be dead, but it would be nice to be able to do it at your studio, just saying.
Yeah, that's a good, I mean, that's quite a strong style of yoga to offer. Just feeding back on that, I'd love to do that. And the answer is yes. If I can get the right teacher, I'll certainly do that. I'm not Ashtanga primary series qualified to teach it. I've only done the classes as a participant. It's finding the right teacher that will come out as far as Hamsey Green. It's easy to get them if you're at the Light Centre in Belgravia, but if you're AbaYoga and Hamsey Green, the selection of teachers isn't quite as big. But yeah, definitely one for, I will look out for that. And when it presents itself, and it will, I'll think, yes, Karina mentioned that. I will pursue that. Any other feedback on the styles? Do we do the right?
I confess my ignorance. I don't know what they all mean.
Good. I'm glad you said that. Sarah as well.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about abbreviating it to 4 categories. They are, I shouldn't have to write them down, but I'm going to write them down. They are, let's go off the top of my head, I can't remember. So get moving, get flexible, get strong, and get loose. And they really slot around. Get moving is the vinyasa practice. Get flexible is the new, that's something I was going to tell you. I'm retraining or training to be a gravity yoga teacher. Gravity yoga is about flexibility only. It's a supplemental yoga practice for all sports and yoga, and it's just about increasing functional flexibility. So get moving, vinyasa, get flexible, gravity yoga, get strong, aerial yoga, and get loose, yin yoga. It kind of then moves vinyasa, gravity, aerial, and yin to one side and brings in moving, flexibility, strong, and loose. Does that work?
What do you mean by loose? I understand the first thing, but loose I find a bit more nebulous.
It's funny you should ask that, Zarid. I was really struggling with how to distill the yin practice. If you imagine being tight in your, we have fascial tissue in our body, right? Binds everything together, and this can start to lose its liquidity over time, and you get what's called fascial adhesions between your muscles and the other layers in your body. And the yin practice really serves to relax and loosen, make a bit more floppy inside. It's close to the gravity, but gravity is more about functional strength mobility. Sarah's just passed me a note, so I'm going to have to read this now. It says, ask them about each class level being the same. What does that mean?
You know when we were talking about...
Really quickly, otherwise I'll lose it.
All right, no. You know we were talking about different teachers coming in and doing something like of a similar level. Would they want to come in and know... Come
here and say it. Just come here and say that. Because it's better being having my attention. This is Sarah, but it's my business partner and wife. Ask the question, everyone can hear it now.
Okay, Chris and I have recently had a conversation about if you come to a level 1 yoga class, would you want the flow to be exactly the same regardless of who taught it? So that if you get familiar with it, that you know exactly what's coming? Or do you like the fact that you know it's level 1, but it can be slightly mixed up?
Yeah, mixed.
Yeah, I like mixed.
Yeah, variation's good.
That's interesting because, it's, that's what Chris does well. He mixes it up all the time and you don't know what's happening next. Sometimes you can get caught out and actually and it gets boring if you do the same. Yeah. same routines. Yeah.
So you wouldn't want a fixed sequence that was repeated through the week by all the different teachers. You like the fact that there's variety, there's different things popping up and different. Is that a general, to answer Sarah's question, because it's a good question, I've forgotten about that one. Is that?
I think it's nice because then you get all the different teachers, how they teach. I mean, they all teach the same thing but differently, right? Mm-hmm. So like Joe's class is different to your class, but it'll be the same level. And I think that's kind of nice because then you're getting a little bit of something of each of you. Do you know what I mean? You're getting something, a bit of something good from every teacher, and it's the same level.
The reason the question came up, and I'm only sort of, and I don't like talking over people, but I don't want to go over 1 hour, because the most successful yoga systems in the world have one preset sequence. So you mentioned the Ashtanga primary sequence. That is a preset sequence. If you go one step above Ashtanga primary, you get to Rocket, Larry Schultz. That is one sequence. Well, it's actually got 3 sections, but they're all pre-sequenced. The most popular worldwide brand for yoga, Bikram, you can love him, hate him, he's done some things. The same 26 moves, repeated over the same 90 minutes, wrapped around the same script anyway. It's like a McDonald's burger. The most successful yoga in the world has no variation in it at all. Yeah. This question came up, and I consulted with some other people as well, and they said you really should go for a sequence that's preset that all the teachers do. But Sarah wants to know, and I want to know, how do you feel? And I think what you're telling me is you don't like that idea.
I suppose I'm the only person. I feel a bit like, I don't want to say it now, but actually I quite like knowing what's coming next, because it makes me, yeah, but I think I'm probably the only one.
You may not be. Kat.
So in a 60-minute lesson, you know, if we do the same thing every single time, we're working exactly the same muscles every single time, right? We're working them in the same way every single time if we're doing the same moves. So you kind of already have the best of both worlds, right? You've got in Vinyasa, you do sun salutation A, always the same. Sun salutation B, always the same. You do vary it a little bit. Sometimes you put in some like cheeky little variations, which are quite nice. But if you've got those that are the same across all teachers, then what's nice is to have a little intro into that.
Lost you again, Kat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This part of my body's getting a little bit
really interesting. We have to
which is nice. Oh, sorry. You have the best of both worlds. So you have sun salutation A and B, you have that sequence, but then sandwiching that, you have different things. So Jo might start her class one way one week and then another way another week, but then you end up stood at the top of your mat ready for your sun salutation, right? And it feels like different parts of your body are getting, you know, a little bit of love in a different way each time. Whereas if you do the same thing, it's like I'm working the same things. And I feel like you'd have to do different classes in order to, I don't know, touch all those bits of your body. But I don't know, again, it is really nice to have sequences that you know, but I think it is nice to sandwich them with other things. And with that, with having done different people's classes, different things.
Losing you again, Kat. I don't know if it's just my end, but I'm losing the relevant bits.
I'll just send you an email, man.
Oh, what's that?
I'll just email you with them.
Yeah, could you please let me know what your thoughts were?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
On that, when you do sun salutation A with, I don't know, with myself, with Liz, with Jo, with Junior, do you find you always get the sun salutation A is the same, maybe sun salutation B is always the same? Are you experiencing, because it was always my dream that if you walked into my studio, no matter what teacher you had, if you did A or B, you knew what was coming. Because especially when you get to B, there are different variations. In fact, with A, some teachers do it differently in different places. And I think that can lead to confusion. My teacher always did it the same way in Australia. And it was very reassuring to know that when you hit that part of the sequence, it was always, and I don't know what the other teachers, I know they know how to do it, but I don't know if they always do it in a way that you're familiar. I'm curious to know how you feel.
Yeah, I think Liz always does the same, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I've practiced with her more than anybody. But I mean, I've got a bit of a monkey brain. I need to be challenged. I like it when somebody sort of throws something else in there. you know. But I just, yeah, it doesn't bother me really. I can appreciate what the girls and boys saying, that obviously it's comfortable to know what's coming next, and it's interesting to know this people like to practice. I don't know. The point about the AbaYoga, going back to the AbaYoga, is that sort of mostly wall space, you know, more like a physio yoga, you know, when you're practicing. I'm sorry, I think it is, I can't see on my screen actually. Karina, I think it's Karina mentioned she went to AbaYoga.
Ashtanga.
Ashtanga. Yeah, is that not like a physio yoga? I don't know that one, that style.
Yeah, Ashtanga is a very, very,
Yes.
it's a root yoga.
Yeah.
And it has a preset, it's quite a strong style of yoga. It's still hatha yoga postures, linked through a little bit of movement in a preset. It's quite demanding, it's quite challenging, it's quite strong. It's a bit like the flows that you do with Liz, but very preset, very strong, and it's a globally accepted sequence called the primary sequence. If you look up people like Keno McGregor, she does it very well on YouTube.
Okay.
But that is it's like Bikram. It repeats.
Right.
Is that your experience of it, Karina? Is that how you?
Yeah, that's kind of why I like doing the vinyasa class, because it's a break from that. So when I was doing the Ashtanga, and it's the same. I mean, it's hard anyway, and I'm 42. I'm not 22. Do you know what I mean? So I was a bit late in the day for this, really. But when I go to yours, it's a bit of like, sometimes you need to move in a different way. Sometimes, so you know, like every day you don't feel strong. I don't walk into the class every day and think, yeah, I can smash this today. Last night I was like, I'm going to die today, but whatever. Like sometimes you just don't feel the same strength every day, do you? So when I come to a vinyasa class, it's like I can just go at my own. I can do what I can do today. There's no, you know, whereas in an Ashtanga class, you're being beat up for an hour. You know what I mean? But it is nice to have that structure. Every time you go in, I get it. But sometimes you don't always want that structure. Do you know what I mean? Although your classes has got the structure, it's not like that. Do you know what I mean, Chris?
Playful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
We're coming up on 3:57 actually now, which means I've only got 3 minutes of your time. I'm going to dip check and see if there's anything that anybody's been thinking. Oh, no, I won't say that. Oh, I'll say that. I won't say that. I always get that when I do these kinds of things. There was something I didn't really say that I thought everyone else thought or didn't want to hear. Charlotte, what have you got?
Sorry, I was on mute. Just quickly, if you mentioned earlier about maybe now is not the right time to bring back hot yoga, but aerial yoga is like the best for like not contaminating each other. Would you consider doing like aerial yoga instead of hot yoga and incorporating that into sort of membership prices? Because obviously at the moment it's a separate sort of payment for that, or would you keep that separate still?
Honestly, I've already done it. I've done a lot of restructuring work whilst I've been sort of closed. I've been working with business coaches. Behind the curtains, I've had to go limited. I've had to go VAT registered. I had to change a whole load of platform stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things I've done is brought in some new members. There's now 3 memberships. Instead of the £75 a month peak, there's now an off peak as well for those who want to start before 6:30. But there's a platinum above it, which is £108. I chose £108 because it's a very spiritual number in yoga, and it includes unlimited aerial yoga.
Right, okay, cool.
So yes, I have thought that through. And I needed to position it because some people have invested in block packs of aerial yoga classes, and I need to make sure that they feel completely supported in how they've spent. So I try to make few changes, but yes, I'm trying to encompass as much as some people said to me, can you have a new super membership level right above that includes pretty much everything?
Yeah.
So I am trying to do just that. Whether or not I put the aerial classes where the hot yoga classes, I hadn't actually thought of doing that. Maybe that is what I do. Maybe have more aerial classes and access through the platinum membership or through the class blocks. I don't know. Looking around here, I can see there's some of you have tried the aerial and some of you haven't tried the aerial. Some of you are probably thinking, don't know what that means. You're probably thinking, I love it. I know I love it. I've got a real soft spot for aerial yoga because it is so, the strength gains are fastest in aerial yoga. It's amazing watching. I'm looking at a couple of people on the screen right now thinking, I have seen you change in a short period of time doing this aerial stuff. So I'm quite excited about all that, but that doesn't mean to say that everybody is, it just means I am. The other limitation with aerial is I'm the only teacher I know who can teach it. There are others, but no one in the studio because they were just a bit weird and you've never met them. So anyway, look, we've got to 3:59 and I promised I wouldn't overrun. What I will do is I'll leave it open. So if anyone wants to stay after the 4 o'clock mark, which is just crossed, you're very welcome to. If you need to go, I'm thanking you from the bottom of my heart and Sarah's. Thank you very, very much. If you don't need to go and you can stay for a bit longer, are we waving goodbye, Caroline?
Yeah, is that okay?
Of course. I'm invited. Thank you very, very much. Waving goodbye. I think everyone's waving goodbye.
I'm just waving to Caroline.
Oh, look, we can all go.
I just have one more thought.
Yes.
Because we're going, I don't know whether you've already thought of this, Chris, but because we're all in an online world, you know that you can, I'm sure you already know this, but you can choose the brands that you want to associate your brand with and perhaps become affiliated with them if they have an affiliate program. And then you can put some links on your website so that if, for example, someone wants to buy a yoga mat and you don't want to carry the stock, then one way of doing it is just direct them to your website where there's a button where they can click it. That will actually take them through to the supplier's website. They purchase it, but that will be your cookie, your affiliate link. So you get a commission for that. So it's a kind of way of optimizing your website from a marketing perspective.
I had not thought of that.
Because then that also opens it up to things like, like music CDs, candles, equipment, and, you choose the brands. And it's very simple. If you go to your favorite brand of equipment, have a look at the very bottom of their website, and often they'll say, partnership opportunities, and you just click that link and there's usually some kind of affiliate program and they're usually pretty good. You can usually probably get 50%, for example. Amazon is different. You can become an affiliate for an Amazon product as well, but it depends if they carry the kind of brands that you're interested in. But actually it could be anything to do with a healthy lifestyle as well. So I think there's lots of opportunities to optimize your website that way.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's my mind. I like that a lot. That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else has got anything that's still rattling around that I can?
No.
Any questions for me about what we're doing in the background, drawing back the curtains? What are you doing?
Have we got any date yet? Because obviously people's confidence levels about returning to normality, we've all got different circumstances. Myself, for example, Nathan's got a compromised immune system, so we're both very super conscious about going out and where we go and what we do. So any thoughts on, I don't know if there's been any indication by the government to indicate when things might be open to go back to gyms or yoga studios or anything?
I've had my ear to the ground on this. I don't think there are any definitive answers. There was at one of the 5 o'clock, how the Downing Street does these 5 o'clock public addresses. In one about 4 days ago, they alluded to some hospitality and leisure facilities opening on the 4th of July. I remember because it's American Independence Day, but subject to certain other things happening and the rate behaving. And so there's speculation that it could be the 4th of July. My question would be, if they say we can open on the 4th of July, do I choose to actually open on the 4th of July? I closed just before they said you have to, because I'd spent about a week every day. I put my keys in the door thinking, am I doing the right thing? Am I spreading this thing? And I shut before they said you have to. Not much, actually, only a few days, but I shut before because I wasn't comfortable. It didn't matter what they were saying. I'm not sure that when they do say, right, you can open, I'm going to race open, just throw open the doors. I will think it through. But to answer your question, I think the speculation could be that July the 4th is a possibility for leisure centres opening. And I'm assuming that means, I mean, I'm D2 Use Leisure Centre Assembly. That's the usage allowed by the council. I had to apply for it before I opened the studio. So Leisure Assembly, recognised thing, July the 4th.
You didn't mention masks, Chris. Are you thinking about everyone bringing their own masks or providing disposable masks, or any thoughts on that at all?
Actually, I have looked at, it kind of breaks my heart to think of a room full of people wearing masks. But if it's the right thing to do, I'm more than happy for people to bring their own. I'd never stop anyone doing that. I'd certainly invite it. The question is, do I buy a stash of them and have a big pile ready for people to use? Probably. What do you think? Would you want it?
It's only because I saw a beauty place that was giving a lot of, it was like a huge checklist of the things, the measures that they were putting in place. I mean, I can share it with you. It's on social media. It might just be a bit of a checklist. You've covered so many of the points, but that was one of them, that they were saying that everyone's going to be in a masked scenario. I mean, obviously it's slightly different because there's no touching, is there, in yoga? You're not, we just can be distanced. I don't know. How does everyone else feel about the masks thing?
It's a good question, Kat.
So from a health point of view, so there is this thing that we as humans can get. It's called hypercapnia, and it's when we, for an extended period of time, breathe in the carbon dioxide that we've breathed out. And with those just simple, like over the face masks, if you wear them for a long amount of time, you breathe out and then you breathe in a higher percentage of carbon dioxide than you usually would, and it leads to dizziness. It can essentially end up with you passing out and getting a little bit of carbon dioxide poisoning. And with yoga, we breathe. That's what we do. So I think it would be a bad idea, actively a bad idea, to put yogis in masks. I'd say distance is great, but while we're practicing, I don't think it's a good idea to do 60 minutes of essentially heavy breathing into a mask.
I'll do a bit of research on carbon dioxide. I did a diploma recently in breath coaching, and actually building up carbon dioxide in your system is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. You certainly don't exhale enough carbon dioxide to cause yourself any damage. In fact, if you imagine on the side of a road, someone has an accident, they're panicking, they give them a brown paper bag to breathe into. It's not because there's anything in the brown bag. What's in the bag is the carbon dioxide. And when you recirculate carbon dioxide into your system, the presence of carbon dioxide is actually necessary for the hemoglobins to release oxygen to make energy in the cells. Carbon dioxide is really, really important. We usually have around about 3% carbon dioxide in our breath. If we recycle the carbon dioxide, that can go up to 4 or 5%. It has two effects. Number one, it increases the body's ability to change food into energy at an oxygen level. And number two, the presence of carbon dioxide is a vasodilator and also a bronchodilator. So it broadens your breathing pipes and it broadens your veins. So actually, it has the opposite effect of causing dizziness. If you breathe too fast, if you breathe really fast and you start off-gassing carbon dioxide and you start dropping the amount of carbon dioxide in your system, the veins can constrict, and same with your breathing pipes, and the veins constricting towards the brain can cause dizziness, which is why if you breathe really, really fast, you start to feel dizzy. So I'd probably do a bit of research on those grounds. I think from a studio perspective, I could probably handle people choosing to wear a mask, but I think somewhere deeper inside, and I'd also provide them if people wanted to, but somewhere deep inside it would break my heart not seeing people's faces. It's already hard enough. For me personally, the worst 20 minutes of my day, Sarah knows this, is the 20 minutes before a Zoom class, because I'm in the studio on my own and the camera's set up and the lights are on, and it always gets me. There's no shoes in the shoe rack, there's no coats on the coat, there's no space. And when I sit there and this I can see little thumbprints of you guys on screen, but I can't see you. And if you're in the room, it'd be so much better. But having your whole face and teaching you like this, I don't know, from a selfish person point of view, I really miss seeing your faces. I'm kind of torn about the whole mask thing. I'm happy for people to use them. I'm happy to provide them. I'd certainly prefer, I'd be more emotionally stable if they weren't beneficial, let's put it that way. I don't know where to go on that one. That's my thoughts. I really want to get everybody's thoughts. What does everybody think about that?
I think if I was going to turn up to a class, I would feel comfortable enough that I wouldn't need to wear the mask.
Yes.
I don't think I would cope with it on anyway, probably suffocate, knowing me. But I'd just feel like if I'm there, I feel safe to be there. I don't think I would want to have to wear the mask. I don't think I would. If I felt I needed a mask, I probably wouldn't go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really?
I probably shouldn't be going to a class if I need to wear a mask. We're not there.
Yes.
Oh, bless you. Sarah, what
Yeah.
was
No, I agree with Karina. Right? If you've made the judgment that you want to go, you've already gone over so many other hurdles to get there. Right? Wearing a mask would you know, I wouldn't want to wear one. So.
And if you had the choice to wear one and other people in the room chose to wear them, how would you?
And that's their choice.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, that's their choice.
He hasn't got to take it either, nor is he mix it.
Yeah. Oh, are you in the room?
You're not picking him up in Monday.
Oh no, she's left her camera on, I think. And she's talking to somebody else. We can't see. Okay. Charlotte.
Yes, I guess that's the difficulty though, isn't it? If you've got some wearing them and some not, you know, how do those that want to wear them feel?
Does anybody want to wear them? I mean, do help me out here. If you do feel like you'd actually like, don't feel you can't say, just say, actually.
I think for me, I see people wear them in Sainsbury's, but I haven't worn one. Well, I did wear it once actually in Waitrose once, but I'm not someone that goes with the mask to supermarkets, and I know others do. I think for me, it's more about, you know, what you want. If you said everyone wear masks, I would wear a mask. If everyone wasn't wearing masks, I wouldn't wear a mask. So it doesn't really bother me that much. I think you're right, Karina. I mean, there's going to be less people in there. And as Sarah said,
Yes.
If you've made the judgment yourself to go, then we all kind of know the risks as well, I think, don't we?
I think because you've also taken all the precautions, Chris. I think that the difference with the masks, if you're on public transport, if you're getting on trains, you're getting on tubes and things like that, it's a must. But when you've done so much spacing and everyone's, you know, you've got all the washing and sanitizing and things like that, it's a safe environment to be in because you've gone above and beyond. And the important thing is washing your hands before you go in and have your yoga class, and then washing them when you come out. And yeah, so you've covered everything else. So if you should feel safe by not going in not wearing a mask. I think.
No idea that there was those gun things that you've got. I'm like, that is amazing. Like, that to me feels like a massive comfort, because you're not just saying, "Are you okay?" and people go, "Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm loving the gun, loving it."
I had to wait 6 weeks to get this. I ordered it ages. It takes ages to get. Everyone wants them. I can't remember who it was. I think Charlotte said these are going to be everywhere. I think we'll see lots and lots of them.
Exactly. I'm all good with it.
I think there'll be a trend of them. We'll all see them to start with, and everyone will use them. And then over time, people use them less and less. They'll, you know, hopefully when we're sort of feeling safe and we know what's okay again, it'll.
Yeah.
But to start with, certainly, I will zap everybody.
Happy to be zapped.
And if there's a warning sign up there, I'll say, you know.
See ya.
Cool. Anyway, I'm going to go. So
Sarah, thank
nice
you
to meet
so
you
much.
all. Lovely
Thank
to
you
see
very, very much.
All right.
I'm going to
Take
have to
care.
go as well, Chris.
Yes.
Thank you, Jen.
Here.
Thank
All
you very
Out.
much.
Good luck. Thank you for inviting
Bye.
me to participate.
Thank
An absolute
Bye,
pleasure.
everyone.
Thank you. Oh, by
Bye.
the way, if you need, I'm on Facebook Live tonight at 6 o'clock doing a guided meditation, just in case anybody's interested.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay.
Chris.
See ya.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Everyone's gone. How wonderful.
I wanted to slide out, but I thought that would look really